Hi, welcome back to the Goals.com podcast, where we dig into what really drives elite sales performance. Today's guest has built 18 sales organizations, coached hundreds of top performing reps, and now he's helping teams level up with AI. Joe Fontana from Dextego is here. If you care about coaching, culture, and closing more deals, this one's for you. Joe, thanks for being here. You ready to dive in?
Let's do this, my man. Thanks for having me.
You've led 18 sales organizations and coached countless reps. What's changed the most about sales leadership in the last decade? What's stayed exactly the same?
So the reps that are doing it right, that are staying exactly the same, are focusing on belief factor in reps and getting them the sense of awareness that they truly are the CEO of their own role. I mean, sales is the only profession out there that from the start, you have an opportunity for unlimited earnings. You know, think about any other kind of role out there. Doctor is going to make X amount in a year, a lawyer, somebody in engineering or tech, but a sales rep can be the master of their own destiny. So the leaders that are out there focusing on soft skills, focusing on the things that truly bridge awareness to consideration, they've always been doing those things. What I see a lot of poor sales leaders doing nowadays is relying on the tech stack, the same way they rely on an iPad to babysit their kids. And when it's used right, these tools are there to enhance what a rep is doing. And I think a lot of leaders today are looking them as, rather than delegating something, they're abdicating it. And they're suffering because of it.
You talk about belief being more powerful than scripts. Can you share a moment where belief truly transformed a rep's performance?
Oh, I mean, I could do that for days. You see it in their eyes. So I actually spoke earlier today with the rep. He's a VP of sales. I was his first leader, an SDR, when he was an SDR. And you can tell, you could see this progression from wanting to learn it, applying it, applying it, applying it, and then just the aha moment. That is the result of the daily reinforcement of, I'm not only going to teach you the content, I'm going to help provide the context. And for different reps at different times in different situations, that context helps create that self-awareness as a seller, that they no longer need to hide behind a mask of what they should be saying, the guise of a script. They truly understand and are aware of the fact that this is a series of conversations. And I need to build trust with this individual so I can develop the kind of relationship that's going to drive a long-term partnership. So it's different things for different reps. It always comes from a sense of success that more often than not is tied in with a failure, where they think they've got a construct down, especially around scripting, where they're saying the same exact things, they're saying it at the same exact time, but then a prospect is daring them to be different. Like, this isn't going to work with me. This method that you're using isn't going to fly. A lot of reps cave. Those that start to believe or have that belief, or a lot of times reps get that sense of belief because they realize, okay, I have all of the knowledge to see this thing through. I don't need to stick to this. Like, this is a guide. It's not, it's the best way to put it. A script, yeah, a script is a guide, but it's not something. I've never believed in scripts. I'd rather somebody have a set of bullet points so that they instinctually have that mindset that leads to belief.
Sure.
The same way a kid will rely on a tech stack. If he dies by that tech stack, that sense of, I don't need this, I can survive without it. Like when Superman finally learns, I don't need to jump buildings, I can just fly. So I try to set them up with the tools to where they never need it in the first place. So I'd rather have somebody from the beginning learn how to have a conversation around bullet points and things that he needs to accomplish, rather than A, B, C, and D, because it automatically forces them to start thinking for themselves and create the individuality that leads to that awareness. Very complex answer for a very simple problem.
That You place a premium on coachability, accountability, resilience, and emotional intelligence. Why these four traits? How do you actually identify and develop them in a team setting?
So I'm looking to see if they have them before I ever put them in front of my team, because the last thing I want is a cancer. If they don't come to the table with that, all of the other peripheral things, because people will say, well, you also need motivation and you should also include this. And what about that? And they're all adjectives that fall into one of those four columns. When you give it a thought, there isn't much that won't fall into those four columns. And the things that don't matter. But as I'm interviewing somebody, I want to see that they can be coached. I am going to press and pressure them to be accountable, to adapt on the spot. I want to see resilience when I'm in their face, making them almost cry on their second interview, their third interview, whenever they're sitting down with me. They've got some modicum of the emotional intelligence needed to see exactly what I'm doing and showing me exactly how they're going to respond to it. And it doesn't necessarily, it's not anything as mundane or stupid as sell me this pen, more than sometimes making them, sweat a little bit when you take their resume, make it into a paper airplane, throw it out the window, and tell them they've got 5 minutes.
That's awesome.
And I try to do that in the interview process, um, because by the time they've sat with me, somebody's qualified them. No, my team knows what I'm looking for. They know what I'm going to want to sit down in front of. Now it's show me that you can do the job. Just as a human, having a conversation with a human. Because if you can't sell yourself, you can't sell any product or service or solution I put in front of you.
I agree with that. You've built teams from scratch multiple times. What's your go-to blueprint for getting a new sales org off the ground and also performing fast?
Well, I'll tell you what I've been doing at Dextego. It is organization. You had it wrong. This is actually organization 21 for me. Sometimes I lose track, and I lost track of some really dirty, garbagey ones. But at the end of the day, I still have 16 wins, 4 losses, and I'm doing all the right things to make this win number 17. So when I've been brought into organizations, it's you need to build something out. Okay, great. Um, we set the expectations of what they need to see and when they need to see it, but it's usually under the caveat of, I'm going to sell this first. I'm going to go out. I'm going to build out the prospecting engine. I'm going to determine all the best practices around prospecting, my go-to-market motion, who I'm talking to, how I'm talking to, what we're saying, the sales motion that follows it. When do I bring in the individuals in my organization that help seal that deal? Then the delivery aspect of it. And as I start to do those and get some consistency around my data and start to build out appropriately, all I'm doing is reinforcing that I have best practices in place for somebody to come in and try to do it as turnkey as possible. So those first hires, to be quite honest, for me, take a page out of Steve Jobs' book, Good Artist Copy, Great Artist Steal. I'm going to look for people that, yes, have a book of business, but are known for having the relationships that I need in the industry. Because in a best case, I might get 30% of that person's book of business outside of non-disclosures and non-competes and a guy who's pretending to be a lawyer telling me to stop having this guy make phone calls and all of the nonsense that goes with it. While I appreciate that, in a best case situation, I'm going to get 30% of that person's business. And that depends on whether or not they have firm relationships in the business that are built on trust, that come with battle scars, that show that this rep has been to all the weddings, but has also sat down for all the funerals. Because those are the people that are going to appreciate the work that I've done, but have the free thinking to start expanding upon that foundation and that blueprint in a manner that doesn't lead to the inmates running the asylum. Because what I'm looking to do with those first guys are build out my sales directors, my sales managers, possibly enablement people, my future VP of sales. And I want to ensure that they're doing the job. Because when we start to bring in the SDRs, when we start to bring in the young guys that are going to have to be coached and going to have to be trained, there's no, well, I'm going to try this because it's worked. How do I know it's worked? I've done it 500 times. Here's the document showing all 500 times that it's been done. That also helps build that sense of trust that they have that they've got leadership that's supporting them. These guys have been in the trenches. They'll jump in on every call. There isn't anything that I'm going to see that they haven't seen. So I know that they're setting me up for success, which in turn leads to sellers believing in themselves.
Mhm. So, in your experience, what are some common traits or blind spots that hold talented sellers back from becoming top performers?
Their own arrogance. Honestly, it's confidence that bleeds into arrogance. And reps tend to forget when they're on the top of the mountain, all of the things that led there, including all of the valleys, the garbage days, the days of hundreds of dials and no responses, of interacting with your prospects without any interaction back. And they stop to do all the little things that got them there. Now, I feel that that's necessary in every sales rep's career because it only reinforces, hey, you need to believe, you need to be the CEO of your own practice, and here's how it gets there, because I want to see them fail there. Or I want to see them do what they have to do to build the confidence, to stay confident and not bleed into arrogance, because arrogance destroys every seller on the planet every day of the week and twice on Wednesdays.
You've dedicated your career to helping reps grow into the best versions of themselves. What's the most effective way a leader can build that kind of culture?
Having them lead amongst themselves. Not necessarily Lord of the Flies, but to a certain extent, I'm going to highlight what every rep does great and have them become a leader around it and coach others around it. I want to start pairing best with bad because everybody wants to be a leader. Everybody wants to hold that mantle. Okay, here's the work that goes with it. So before I put you in front of somebody to interview for a VP of sales position or a director of sales or a head of sales or an SDR leader, show me you could do the work. Lead by example first. When we have our daily stand-up Monday, here's what you're going to focus on with the team. And I'm also going to assign a couple of reps. And while, yes, I'm eager to hear what you've taught them, I also want you to come back with things they taught you or things that you've learned from this experience. Because then people start to feed with each other. It's camaraderie with competition because now they're all looking to be the best, but they're also willing to help anybody else around them have the same shot as well. And then you're just building an incubator for the future leaders of your organization. And typically, when I worked with companies, I was given a 2 to 2.5 year runway to come in, sell it, build it, and walk away. So, one of the things that I need to accomplish is making sure that I'm developing leaders that all have earned the right to stand up and show that they can all make the next steps in their careers respectively.
Absolutely. What's one thing sales managers consistently get wrong about coaching, and how do you fix it?
They mistake coaching for training. They think, okay, these two guys have a problem. Let me address it with the team. Hey, I saw this with 2 or 3 guys. Let me address it with the team, or let me address it with the 3 of them. Anytime it's more than one person, it is no longer coaching, it is training. Which means you have to have something of a universal lowest common denominator approach to it. Where with coaching, I can treat you as the individual, coach you appropriately, treat you as you. Coaching is different strokes for different folks. Training is everybody take a sip from the same trough, which is good for setting the foundation of something that they need to learn. But coaching is the only thing that's going to drive it home at the end of the day. And the only way coaching works is with as much micro learning and micro coaching in the present preemptive coaching that you can give them.
You balance pushing reps toward results with genuinely supporting their personal and professional growth.
That's a great question. That's typically something, again, that we come to a covenant on prior to them coming on to the team. So you sign an offer, I'm going to have a conversation with you of, or you're getting ready to sign an offer. This is what I'm going to expect from you. This is what I'm giving you in return. So everything that I teach you, every lesson I put in front of you, every pitfall, every mountain, every peak, every valley is going to lead to where you say you want to go. So it's a conversation with them around where do you see yourself realistically? What do you want from this role? I want to be VP of sales, or I just want to do something else, or I want to move on to this. Whatever the covenant is, I will help them. I tell sales reps all the time, I am going to hand you a bushel of rope. You can either build a ladder or a noose. I will help you build either one. So it's because they make that covenant with me early that I get to do carrot and stick. Treat them like mom when they're 5. You said you wanted this. If you want this, this is what you need to do. Oh, you want to be a great AE? You got to stop LinkedIn. You got to get on a phone. You want to be a VP of sales? Yeah, you're going to have to deal with Susie calling you at 11 o'clock at night because she's having a crisis of confidence. And she's not sure if she's doing all the right things right because she's still up reading and reviewing and she's not sure. She doesn't know what she doesn't know. And you have to be there and own that. So whatever it is that they're looking to accomplish, we make that covenant early. And I'm always the first one to show my investment in it. And then you see who's a pro and who's a pretender, who blew smoke up your rear end and who really wants to get it done. And if you're good enough to sell me and then not do the work, you're not going to last 90 days. I can't have a cancer on my team. I won't have it. It always leads to that. More often than not, it doesn't happen. They're all willing to make that investment. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're good at it. But if you're showing the effort and I see that you have a skill set that might be better set for enablement or operations or customer success or account management, poor salespeople turn out to be great marketers or great trainers or great enablers. I will help you find whatever allows you to be the best version of yourself in an organization that you're willing to make an investment in. A lot of leaders in organizations say, yeah, we love what you're doing here. More often than not, they're not. But my covenant is with the rep to see them be the best version of themselves. And we make that agreement early that it might not be sales, especially if I'm dealing with 8 SDRs, if I'm dealing with first time on the roll or the lowest roll in the totem pole. And especially if they're coming from someplace else, like you need to convince me that you're good at it. And if you're not, we're going to have frank conversations around the things that you are good at. I mean, there's some psychological warfare that goes on with that. I'll take a kid, like I said, somebody who's being a little arrogant, like, you know what? Looks like you might be better off in enablement because you can't handle the stress of doing the right things the right way every day.
Yeah.
Wait, what'd you just say to me? What? Prove me wrong. You're the one who came to me and said you wanted the following, and I said I'll make it happen. You're the one not following through.
In tough times, like tough quarters, for example, what's your mindset as a leader? How do you keep morale high without sugarcoating reality?
Hey, sales is cyclical. There will be good, there will be bad. If things are going well, that's when I'm going to ask you to look at what you were doing best and while you were doing it and see what's changed. Because typically something has changed. I mean, outside of market conditions and whatnot, but I just want to ensure if you're doing the right things right, sales is cyclical. It always comes back to either bite you or pay you. So we could sit here and we can cry and moan and we could drop all the tears into our cornflakes that we'd like. What we need to do is ensure that we're doing all of the things right. And it's always a reminder to the sales team or the individual rep. Remember that day you got that massive deal? Yeah. Remember what you said to me the day before? Remember how much it sucked the week before? Remember how you came crying into my office an hour before? We try to remember that everything is happening for a reason. If you're doing the right things right, you will be rewarded. I mean, sales is both an art and a science. So if the science is down and your chemistry is, no pun intended, down to a science, then it's just making sure that the artistic flair you've added to it is not causing damage. And if it is, to coach yourself effectively through it. But at the end of the day, it's just that constant reminder if you're doing the right things right. As a sales leader, their job becomes more diligent now to really dig into deals, to really dig into processes and procedures, to make sure that the lack of result is not the result of a lack of effort. Because people start to break down when numbers don't go their way. I don't want to go near the phone, everybody's saying no. I don't want another email, nobody responds. I don't want to do another LinkedIn post. All I'm getting is hit up by recruiters afterwards. I don't want to do this. I wish I didn't have to do that. And then things start to change. And never for the better. It's like a baseball hitter that's coming in and changing 5, 10, 15 things about their stance, where I remember Pete Rose saying one day, here's the 3 things you change: how close you are to the plate, how close you are to the pitcher, and how far your hands are up in the bat. Nothing else changes. So the sales equivalent is, okay, your texts are not working. Let's focus on in-mails. Your emails are ineffective. Let's worry about leaving 50 voicemails today, driving everybody back. But the message doesn't change. The ICP doesn't change. The organization doesn't change. Just your approach changes. And again, you're not altering more than you're adapting. It's adapt your message or adapt where that message is being heard and best resonated with, even if it's only 2% compared to zeros every place else. And that typically helps them steer the ship. That's when you reinforce things like coaching. Okay, deals aren't going your way. Do all the work to make sure you're doing all the things right. And 99% of the time, the ship rights itself.
Sure. If you could only coach a seller on one skill that would move the needle across any industry, what would it be and how would you coach it?
Belief, belief, belief in owning the role. Treat it like you're the CEO of your role. Everybody wants to be a business owner. Everybody wants to be the apex predator at every organization. It starts with a collection, a CEO, VP of sales, a CRO, a VP of sales. It is a collection of successes, of owning one role and morphing into the next. So it's be the CEO of this role so that I can teach you how to be the CEO of the next role while you're still doing this role. So to me, it's always about belief. If I have a seller who believes, I have a seller who is self-empowered, is self-educating, is got the humility to look at their deals from an objective perspective, that person's doing all of the things right because they know all of the simple things that go to sales. It's a rejection-based game. I have to build authentic relationships. I have to come from a place of this. I have to do that. I need to think this way. So if I'm coaching for belief, I'm coaching for a myriad of other things that turn that rep into a self-sustainable, hate to say it, ATM machine for their boss. Because that's what I'm trying to do as a sales leader is I'm trying to develop as many set and forgets as I can because I've got a myriad of other problems that I need to deal with. I don't want coaching or I don't want time management or effective, whatever the case may be. There's so many things that drive me away from driving revenue that I need to stay focused on, which is why I've been such a president at Dextego, to be quite honest with you, because the daily coaching means as a sales leader, all of the trials and tribulations, the trial and error that goes with ensuring that I have prepared this rep to conquer the challenge or obstacle they're facing, knowing that there's a tool that's enhancing my ability to do that, and putting the onus on the rep, it's killing two birds with one stone. Because they're showing me they're the CEO of their business, and now I don't need to have theatrical, overhyped pep talks with the rep who's consistently not growing through an issue that's keeping them from closing deals.
For those who aren't familiar, what exactly does Dextego do and how has it
So it's
changed the way?
Dextego, depending on the day of the week, you can pronounce it every way you'd like. It is a combination of dexterity and ego. So it's, again, showing reps that want to be the CEO of their own business because they've got the dexterity to admit they need to grow and the ego to put it aside. So it is an AI-enabled sales coaching platform, soon to be a platform that's coaching a myriad of different gaps that we see from HR to leadership. But as it lives today, it is a tool that has been trained on over 200 years of sales experience, my 35 plus years included as well. As a result, we have a tool that is agnostic to what you're selling. You could be selling cars. You could be selling SaaS. It doesn't care about your sales cycle. It doesn't care about the methodologies you might have been trained on, be it Medic, Sandler, so on, so forth. It will preemptively prepare you for the next conversation rather than being a school marm that told you all the things you just did wrong on the last one. You have Gong for that. You have Fathom or any note taker that can say, based on the conversation you had, here's how you could have improved. We're taking all of that data. We're syncing to CRMs and to calendars, to public tools like LinkedIn, to provide these reps with as realistic a learning opportunity to get through their next conversation as there is in the industry. Because we don't believe in personas. We don't believe in let's have a fake roll call play. Because to me, all that's doing is teaching you content. And most sellers have that already. That's what training is for. That's me getting in front of 6 guys, talking through ISV, unique value props, the best way to position our organization in a specific industry. But it's the coaching, it's the daily reinforcement of, before you get on a phone call with Adam Rice, here's where you are in your sales cycle with Adam Rice. Here's the conversation that you need to have today. It needs to cover the following. Here's what a call to action at the end of that conversation needs to look like for this to adhere to the best practices of what a good deal looks like at your organization. So not replacing anything, but just enhancing a seller's ability to have as successful a conversation as they can. Because I'm not a believer in, hey, don't worry, you can fail in real time, or hey, this happens to everybody. Dollars are scarce, budget is scarce. Sellers are now becoming as disposable as Kleenex. Sellers don't have the luxury that guys like you and I had just a few short years ago.
Some reps hear AI and immediately worry about losing the human element. How do you respond to that concern?
When it's teaching you content and treating you like, hey, every solution has the same answer, here's the 5 objections you use when somebody says this, then yeah, it could be seen as a replacement tool. And I think humans get turned off to that. I think what real sellers who have that belief or are looking to build that self-awareness want somebody that's not going to fish for them, but teach them how to fish. And that's what we're doing. We're saying, and giving leadership the ability to see this guy's really making the investment in himself. When we say that it needs to be done, we see the growth. We see that they're taking these steps. So in that sense, it is an enhancement. It replaces nothing. If anything, it replaces one menial task for a sales leader who has to invest the time in uncovering the problem and then the time in delivering the training. And you have a team of 16 reps, one-on-ones alone take up 2 days of your week. Now they don't need to be as in depth. They don't have to be an hour focused on your inability to do X more than a reinforcement that you're learning how to deal with X properly. Which means that sales leader now has other options with which to spend that time. To say nothing of the discovery of the issue, listening to the gong calls. If you're too lazy, you're reading the scripts, or just reading the overviews. In any case, you're putting a lot of research in to figure out what the seller is doing wrong. And if you're doing it right, if you're doing it half-assed, that's a few hours per rep. Easy, 3 or 4 hours. If you're doing it in any other time than that, you're a disservice to your sales team. And I don't care what you say. I'll fight that all day home and I'll throw on brass knuckles to do it. But if you're even taking the absolute minimum amount of time to focus on what's the problem and then develop a curriculum to address it, 16 guys, that's a week. And all I'm doing is giving that sales leader the time back with the assurance that they're getting the attention that they need, and they're micro learning. I mean, I have organizations that will use this and make it mandatory before you get on the phone for the day because it's synced to a calendar. All right, Andrew, you're talking to Joe, you're talking to Brandon, you're talking to Susie. Before you're allowed on the phone with any of them, you have to role play through this 3 times, and we need to see improvement every time. If not, we're going to alert your boss that he should jump in on the call, and nobody wants that. So now we're seeing sales cycles decrease, ramp up times decrease. And again, it's not replacing anything other than enhancing, finding the problem, coaching the problem, and ensuring that they have the ability to work through it. I went to driving revenue at Dextego after I used this on my own team. So I saw firsthand somebody going from months to weeks to learning a soft skill, and the truly ambitious ones learning it in days, if not hours.
How do you see AI-enabled coaching evolving over the next, say, 3 to 5 years? And what should reps or sales leaders be doing today to prepare for it?
That's a good question. I'd be blowing smoke at you if I told you I had the answer to it. I think what reps and leaders should be using it for today is to proactively set them up for success and also help them, it's the best way to put it, to keep them non-dependent on it. There should come a point where a rep there's no need to do it 3 or 4 times a day. They're doing it weekly, or they're not doing it as in-depth as they were. They're using it more as a reinforcement rather than a structuring tool. But those that are using it right where those that are looking for best methods should be looking first at how the tool is designed. Mine is designed by sellers, 6 or 7 of us, 200 plus years. Our biggest competitors are trained by engineers who read some books and sat with some people and had some conversations. So you can't shake a stick at a tool that's built right, regardless if it's AI enabled or not. And especially in a SaaS world where it's all about the ease of use. How easy does this make my life, especially when it comes to sales reps who are going to do the absolute minimum to embrace a tool? They need it to be as idiot-proof and easy to use as possible, which only comes from it being built by a seller, which is why it's easy to use my tool in LinkedIn. It's seamless to use my tool through a calendar because I know how I'd want it to use. And quite frankly, I was one of the laziest salespeople to ever live. And by that, I mean, I needed it laid out. If it was going to make an impact, then the first impact it needs to make is it's easy. If you can't get past that first hurdle, then you're doing AI wrong. If it doesn't instantly make things easier, just having it there making things easier, easy to grab, easy to understand, easy to apply. I mean, that's why most softwares fail to begin with.
What kinds of results are companies seeing after implementing Dextego? And what surprised you the most about those outcomes?
What surprised me the most was how much better we did so quickly. So a number of clients use this as part of their onboarding programs. So they already had existing data around ramp-up times of other onboarding teams, of teams that they have onboarded, identical roles, selling in identical places, everything matched up with the exception of Dextego. And we saw ramp-up times decrease by 30%. We saw sales cycles have a better improvement rate. We saw conversion rates improve because they weren't failing in live time. They're not failing on the call with the prospect because they've had 7, 8, 9 at-bats. Considering the Montana and Rice duo we have here, it's 8, 9, 10 times that QB is throwing you the ball under every circumstance you can think of so that when you're in the game, you're seamlessly catching those balls. When you compare it to teams that didn't use us, it was night and day, sometimes by a factor of 3. I mean, we saw ramp-up times decrease by 30%. We saw sales cycles improve by 20%. And we saw conversion rates improve by 25%, which means I now have a sales team that believes in themselves because you're giving them all of the tools to get to that place of self-awareness that separates pros from pretenders and always has.
Those are impressive numbers.
Comes from people that have done the work. Unlike my competitors, they can all claim, hey, we've got something that works. What I don't have that they have is the 2-year head start. I'm also the greatest salesman alive. So it's like those races you see where the Iceman at the baseball game lets the guy get like half a field head start. Enjoy your head start, boys, because I'm about to start running. I love that line. Please share that with me afterwards.
Well, it'll be documented because that is officially a wrap on today's episode of the Goals.com podcast. Joe,
Yes.
thank you again.
Thank you again, my friend. For those of you who've never used his tool and you're looking for a barometer for performance on a daily basis that holds you accountable, that helps you create that sense of awareness and belief, you could do a lot worse than looking at Goals.com. They truly do have the pulse for performance metrics of reps, and it's certainly worth the time to review it. Yes, that's a shameless promotion, but it also comes from me kicking the tires on it myself. So I'm not saying it from a place of anything other than Andrew asked me to break it, and I walked out with a baseball bat that was in splinters.
Huge thanks to Joe Fontana for sharing his wisdom on what it really takes to build world-class sales teams and how AI is transforming the way we coach and win. If you took something valuable from this conversation, go put it into action. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, stay coachable, and keep chasing those sales goals.
This episode is brought to you by Goals.com, the sales performance platform built to help teams stay focused, motivated, and on track. While most CRMs just track data, Goals.com drives real results. It's simple, affordable, and designed to help your sales team hit targets faster, without the headache of complex setup or costly consultants. Whether you're using a CRM or not, Goals.com works seamlessly to elevate your performance. Book a fun, fast demo today at Goals.com.